Welcome to Expressions of Leadership. I'm your host, Michele Kawamoto Perry. In every episode, we explore how people from educators and artists to executives and entrepreneurs lead with authenticity, rise through adversity, and share the wisdom they've gained along the way. Today's guest is Dr. Pamela Donnelly, a visionary education reformer, edtech entrepreneur, and fierce advocate for access and equity. With a career spanning classroom teaching, federal consulting, and nonprofit leadership, Pamela is now leading transformative change as the founder of the American Access Institute and the groundbreaking Catapult platform. Welcome, Pamela. It's a pleasure to have you on Expressions of Leadership.
So great to be here. Thank you, Michele.
Well, let's start with your leadership journey. What early experiences, personal or academic or professional, shaped your view of leadership?
Well, I grew up with limited resources, so I never thought I would be a leader. I was very much like a first-gen kid growing up in a small town in Virginia. So I think having that background forced me to navigate systems that were not built for me and to overcome barriers within my family, within my town, within, all of the opportunities that were not really being presented to me. I think there's no sort of coincidence why all of us find our way in the paths that we do. For me, a lot of it has been about championing folks who were underestimated and making sure that we increase equity to resources. So just because you're growing up, like a country kid in Virginia, or a kid whose, parents, are incarcerated, or you're a foster youth, or you're juvenile justice involved. There are so many populations that I have a very sincere calling to help. And a lot of what we'll talk about today is how I'm doing that. So, I was a teacher, as you mentioned, for a number of years in Title I schools. I did my undergrad was at Columbia University. So I started off teaching in inner city high schools. And then ended up, working in both public and private schools. And that Title I sort of lower socioeconomic sort of profile really cut my teeth about understanding what students can do and how possible forward momentum is for them when they feel seen. And we just have to, really make structural change. So getting that doctorate and doing the work I've done in global leadership and federal leadership is very much about just making sure that I'm doing what I can to deal with the systemic issues, because it's not enough just to help one kid at a time or even 30 kids in a classroom. This stuff goes all the way up. My dissertation was about presidential rhetoric about college access, and I did an entire deep dive study on that that's available for free online if anybody wants to find it. So this is very important to me. So my experiences, like yours and everyone else's, made me who I am today.
As you mentioned, you've taught in high schools. You also worked with underserved communities and founded multiple ventures. How did each of those settings shape your leadership lens?
Okay, well, I'm a four-time founder, but if we go all the way back, and this is kind of funny, I don't know if you know this about me. My very first company I ever started was, I had been an actress on television, and my accountant said to me, I was a soap star, believe it or not, and he said to me, you need to have an LLC for tax reasons. And I was like 20 years old, fresh off the farm, got this role on ABC TV, The Edge of Night. And so I named my company, and please laugh because it's funny, New York Dreamer. New York Dreamer LLC. So I was like 20 years old. I knew nothing. I was just like, I don't know. I'm gonna. So, but I did a series of back-to-back roles on ABC, All My Children, One Life to Live, etc. Over time, one of the things that taught me was how to think on my feet and really to have kind of an improvisational nature as I'm dealing with other people, because, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. So whether I'm raising money for subsequent ventures, whether I'm working on technologies to help equitable access, or any of the other things I do as a ghostwriter, things that I do working as a college admissions consultant. I do a lot of fractional type of stuff, but all of it is improvisation. This is improvisational. I don't know what I'm about to say, but I'm with you in this conversation. So theater and that background as an actor helped. I think a lot of my concern about the American dream comes from working with underserved youth, then founding the ventures that I've done. My first business, Valley Prep Tutoring, we did a 10-year run up until COVID when we closed. My second business, Gate College System, which was a technology in the college access space. Very humbling, these experiences. You're so at the mercy of the ecosystems, what's happening politically, societally, economically, and you're trying to ride these waves. So I've had to make my peace with sometimes things run their cycle. When I closed Valley Prep, I cried. I was like, we were doing so well in this darn pandemic. But all of it has shaped my leadership because I've had to learn to really think on my feet and to really be adaptive and not be too locked in on it has to be this way. I know the big picture of where I feel called to go, and I each day take that journey, and I try not to be too precious about how I get there.
I'm curious to know more about how you take some of those improvisational skills and apply it to that adaptive leadership now.
Well, if you've ever taken an improv class, and by the way, if you're a leader listening to this, really strongly recommend get yourself to an acting group. And even if go to the Groundlings if you're in LA, just take a couple of classes. And what you learn is that it's always yes and. There's never no. So if you and I are doing an improv and you say there's a purple elephant in the living room, I can't say no, there's not. I have to say, yeah, and he's eating a lot of peanuts, and I got to get over there and do something about this purple elephant. You have to build on what you're getting from the other person. And so that yes and mentality, being a better listener, a more careful, precise listener, I think is the big takeaway from that. And then being willing to execute or to say even the silliest idea, like something about peanuts and elephants, like whatever is coming up, to be in that co-creative, not getting attached to the first idea, but just exploring, because it's collaborative and it's brainstorming. Some of the best ideas that have impacted the tech I'm currently building have come out of team meetings where I just really open up the aperture and give permission. I want everyone on the team to throw me their craziest idea. And sometimes that's what we go with.
It's that spirit of collaboration and innovation that sparks creativity.
Yeah, it's like, guys, let's just, imagine we're in a room and we're tossing a ball and, let it be playful. Allow the spirit of the creative, playful nature that we all have. I think a lot of people have an idea. Maybe I'm blessed that I don't have an MBA. I have a BA, an MA, and a PhD. I feel like MBA folks, I feel like they kind of beat the creativity out of people. I don't know. That's just my perception. But there can be quite a lot of proscriptive. There is a way to do it, left brain, linear, Excel spreadsheet forms of thought. Getting out into that right brain, the creative, the what is possible, the interconnections, the intersectional thinking, all of that is over here. And I feel like in an ideal world, you've got both going on. You are, my favorite made up word is ambibraneous. If you're ambibraneous, you got it going on, but you got to have some of this right brain. And business can't, yes, you got to have quant, you got to have data. I'm not saying that's not true, but boy, especially in the vision casting and the implementation in the early stages, there's got to be so much of this other part of the team that gets harnessed.
And if you think about your own leadership and you needed to distill it down into 3 core values, what would
Mm.
they be?
I think core, like the very deepest, has to be integrity. You have to really mean what you say. If you say, I'm on a mission, and like in my case, I am on a mission to increase equitable college and career readiness for underserved populations, period, full stop. And anyone who knows me knows, based on not just those words, but my actions daily in the trenches, working for free, donating my time to my nonprofit, doing a lot of, sort of sweat equity, we might call it. You've got to be able to practice what you preach and walk that walk, not just talk about it. The big word always for me is equity, so that's probably my second core value. I really a friend of mine is really into astrology, and she did my chart, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Pamela, you're a triple Libra." I was like, "What does it mean?" And she's like, "You really like balance." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense, you know." So maybe it was written in the stars that I would be a social justice warrior for folks who are facing adversity, who don't have advantages. I didn't grow up with advantages, so I kind of like to fight for the little guy. And I really believe morally that we have to have what I would, and maybe this would be the third, like courage. We have to have the courage to send the ladder back down. You know, I've been really fortunate to come from Brentsville, Virginia, tiny little country town, barefoot kid. Nobody expected anything of me. PhD, running businesses. What? What kind of a character arc is that, right? But I don't think I was put here to just pat myself on the back. I think you and I and everyone who's had any advantages has an obligation to do what we can anyway to send that ladder back down. And so I would say courage is what's required for that.
And what's a key motivator for you?
Oh, wow. Um, Wanting the world to be more fair. um, I'm motivated by my faith. I'm motivated by a sense of obedience to the examples that I see and not even a specific, I'm not saying like just a specific faith, but I'm talking about all of the religious philosophy, spiritual pathways that I've studied over the years. I'm a 5 times a week on a mat yogi. So I'm into that. I do pray, I do meditate. But I think for me, the thing that's motivating me is a sense of obedience. I feel that I really do have a calling, not from an ego place, but just from there's this thing that has to happen and I'm supposed to lead it. And oh boy, all right, here we go. And just to try to keep myself daily grounded. I literally came from yoga right before this interview. 8 a.m. I'm on the mat and I'm just trying to like bring in a higher, like the highest self I can, so that when I start implementing, writing, leading, doing all the things, I'm doing it from a place of groundedness. And for me, that's been super important.
And do you have a mantra or something that you say to yourself each and every day?
I do.
Would you like to share
My
it?
mantra is my mantra is may I serve the highest good for others today.
Mm.
So I'm here to be of the highest good for others day by day. So I look at it as a daily practice to commit myself to the highest good that I can provide. Because at some point we all kick off this planet, we're not here for long. I like the idea. I'm a mom of 3 grown daughters. I like the idea of something maybe approximating, if not a legacy, which feels like a big word, but just like evidence of something that they can be proud of. Look what my mom did. My mom helped a bunch of people. My mom did these things that, like a lot of women, don't feel that they can do, or kind of breaking those leadership barriers. And I do have kids that are very strong-willed, and very likely one of them is already, leading her own very successful nonprofit as well. So I feel really proud of the fact that I've been able to set that example. And I think part of that, it goes to gender as much, because it's interesting. I never had sons. So I'm just like 3 daughters, and I'm the mom. It's like I want to set an example of guys, like, and I've always said to them, there's only 2 things you have to do in this life. 1, pick a problem. 2, work to solve it. That's the sum total. So pick a problem. My oldest daughter really cares about animal rights and started Orphan Kitten Club. She runs a nonprofit helping neonatal kittens. She's helped save millions of lives across the country. New York Times bestselling author, huge organization, Kitten Lady, they call her online. Her name's Hannah. It's my firstborn. My middle daughter's an opera singer. She's living out her thing in the arts. My youngest is very interested in stand-up comedy and is doing elder care as she's kind of finding her footing professionally. So there's all these different kids, but it really, for me, the leadership piece is have the confidence to aspire. And they've got that, but like a lot of people don't have a mom telling them that. And so I also feel like those of us who can and have skills in these kinds of areas, we can come together, we can help the kids who don't have that support. And so I want to be an extension, the it takes a village thing.
Well, we're going to take a quick pause. And when we come back, Dr. Donnelly shares how she turned a bold idea into a national nonprofit. Don't go anywhere. Love what you're hearing? Hit that follow button wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And be sure to connect with us on Instagram and YouTube at Expressions of Leadership. Welcome back to Expressions of Leadership. I'm Michele Kawamoto Perry, and our guest today is Dr. Pamela Donnelly. Can you tell us more about the American Access Institute and what inspired the creation of the Catapult platform?
Thank you. First of all, career readiness is trending very much as a problem in this country. The sort of third rail of higher education, the college for everyone, which we saw in 2015 and thereabouts, where everyone was pushing young people toward college, really has gone away. And you can see if you look at higher education statistics, things are changing a lot. AI is changing that, and the entire workforce needs. One of our mutual friends, Deborah Perry Piccioni, has a book, Employment is Dead. Like there is truly, and that's, Harvard Business Review putting that out. Very important book for folks to read. I think that as we think about career readiness, for me, American Access Institute, I founded this organization as a 501c3 to help empower career readiness for young adults and teenagers, 14 and older, living with adversity to help them secure a pathway. And so we're using a technology called Catapult. And we license this because it's got a really great way of breaking down. So we're not assuming that you've got an uncle who's going to pay for you to go to Princeton, right? We know you need to have a job. Foster kids, for example, a very important organizational goal. One of our primary strategic plan initiatives is with kids in the foster program. So if you're a foster kid, you age out at 18 and you are in harm's way. Statistically speaking, the odds of becoming human trafficked, sex trafficked, incarcerated, addicted, there are just horrific things that happen. I live here in Las Vegas. It's worse than anywhere in the country right here. We are ground zero for this problem. So creating a platform initiative within our nonprofit has allowed us to quickly deploy. We are not the mentors that are the boots on the ground. We are the technology partner for nonprofits anywhere, because most of them are trying to invent the wheel, and they are not ed tech professionals. They are not people with curriculum design and pedagogy backgrounds. They don't necessarily understand at the depth that my staff and I do things like trauma-informed care and how to leverage tech plus team for a blended learning model so that our mentor guides are helping anybody anywhere become an expert in helping somebody become career ready. Because you think about it, you got a bunch of people out there with really big hearts, but that doesn't mean they have that acumen. So we just want to quickly equip volunteers, whether it's Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters, all these hope programs, right? CASA is one that we've been in a lot of conversations with. We're talking to folks at Jobs for America's Graduates, which piloted my first technology company, Gate College System. So we feel like this is the way forward, and that's what inspired it, was seeing the need for something that is cost effective, scalable, and centered on the dignity of those kids.
And what does the journey look like when a young person engages with Catapult? Can you walk us through a typical experience?
Sure. And if anybody would like to see video of what it looks like, so AmericanAccessInstitute.org, on our impact page, you can see video right now. I'll give a tangible example. We're working with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. They have a program called DREAM. DREAM is an acronym. And they are working with young men and women, 15 to 18 years old, all of whom have gotten involved in the juvenile justice system. Some of them are on parole. Some of them are, in different types of trouble. And these police officers have developed this program to try to move upriver and keep them from ending up incarcerated, right? How do they do that? They're like, we need career readiness. We got to empower them so they're not feeling like they have to, be in gangs and selling drugs or anything else. So when they saw Catapult, they got super excited. And we now have partnerships with the ACE program with the police, with the CORE program with the police, like every subgroup they're just bringing in American Access Institute to partner. So we train the trainers, we train the officers, we train the mentors, and we provide the technology to the students, and we give the mentor guides as an ongoing resource, step by step, through the ten trainings that are part of Catapult. It's pretty plug and play. Doesn't take too long, and all of our nonprofit partners are really excited to be utilizing that tool.
And as Catapult scales nationally, what's your vision for how this platform could transform systems, not just serve individuals?
Mm. One of the things I got excited about when I was at Pepperdine doing the PhD, I learned a lot about longitudinal studies. And I learned a lot about the importance of quant as well as qual. So, quantitative data, which can really open up doors for larger grants, larger partnerships, bigger programs, as well as the qualitative. So we got that quantitative. Again, we're back to left brain, right brain. Quantitative. And then the qualitative are the case studies, the break your heart stories. And believe me, I could tell you from now till kingdom come without repeating myself, the sad stories of different types of young people who are in harm's way that we are stepping forward to help. So I do feel that those aspects are, kind of how we are approaching this. And my vision is that the longitudinal studies and that the efficacy and eventually randomized control trials and all of the things that I didn't know with my first tech company Gate, but which I learned because I actually was in my late 50s by the time I went and got my PhD. I want to put in a plug for It's Never Too Late. And I did that because I realized that I was underprepared as a founder, CEO for Gate, which was a for-profit company. I didn't understand a lot of things that I needed to about the importance of alliances, partnerships, collaborations with other organizations. I didn't understand the research component. So my vision is to get that right this time. I was like, and now for something completely different. Let's get that part right. I'll make new mistakes, but I won't make that one.
Speaking of mistakes, what is your philosophy around trying new things, making mistakes?
Any leader is going to say the same thing on this, I bet. I mean, it's the old Sheryl Sandberg fail forward, right? If you think you're going to come out of the gate and be perfect, good luck to you. Have a great time and let me know how your therapy bills look later because you're going to drive yourself crazy. Um, uh, I don't even like the word failure. I feel like there is always learning to be extracted from anything that doesn't work. It's the Edison quote about I found a bunch of ways not to make a light bulb until I finally made a light bulb. I am uh, I'm agile personally, and I'm building a technology that is also agile, flexible. We're utilizing AI in really innovative ways. We're bringing in partners that I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams I would be partnered with the University of Southern California's Institute for Creative Technologies, but they loved what I showed them. And I had spoken at an event and met their chief science officer and just the right people in sometimes the wind is in your sails and you can't invent it. You just show up at places. You and I met at a conference, which was just such a delight. And so I think a lot of it is about putting yourself out there, and knowing that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you always have a learning curve and you can bring that to your future endeavors. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a lifelong iterator. I will always be building things. I don't know what retirement is supposed to even mean. Like, what is that word? Like, what am I sit on a sofa? Like, I don't know. Somebody explain this to me. I like a vacation, but believe me, I'm always going to want to come back and offer out, you know, uh, support to be of the highest good. I can't be of the highest good if I'm just eating bonbons, watching TV. No, I don't think I'm helping anybody except maybe the bonbon company as I sit there and get bigger and bigger.
Well, what has leading the development and the launch of Catapult taught you about your own leadership?
This is a big question. One of the things I've had to really reckon with is that when I hired my curriculum design team and I was bringing in the right people, like we had a developer from Google, and then I had another developer who's a data scientist doing some really sophisticated work in Tableau. So that was something that takes a very specific skill set. I had to really build the right team to get the right outcome of what I knew we wanted to build. And I honestly have had to personally shepherd this way more. Like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm just sort of, sitting around and, telling other people. Like, I'm personally probably have created, I don't know what percentage of the content, but I've loved that collaboration, but getting the right people in the right roles was a big part of that. And then as we're launching, getting the UX and UI, getting specialists who could go through and help me see the blind spots that I was missing about the user experience and the flow, and bringing in the right AI applications. We are so blessed. I've got such a great board of directors. And I just had an amazing meeting yesterday with a woman who heads up one of the AI divisions at Microsoft. So she is just a rock star. And she spent 90 minutes with me yesterday. And a lot of our conversation was about various opportunities, hackathons and donation opportunities and other ways to partner, like potentially even within Microsoft for us, which is, again, University of Southern California, Microsoft, really? And then I've got an API on Catapult that we're able to share for free. That's an expensive thing that people pay money for. But Road Trip Nation is on Catapult, which is 16,000 videos of different career pathways, documentary level. Like, I could never create that myself. I couldn't create what USC gave us that supplements what we have already sort of deployed with Catapult. So I just want to put in a plug for anybody who's like in kind of a startup mode, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit. Man, like, get yourself in the right rooms to meet the right people so that you're able to build these kind of scaffolded support systems to magnify your impact. You don't have to do it all yourself. Just do the thing you do really well, and then people will see that and go, well, we can bring this, I can bring that. My uncle has a barn, let's put on a show. Like, it turns into communal, and it's so joyful for me that that my team and I get to feel validated by, like, the creme de la creme of, like, research universities and nonprofit partners. So, and for-profit partners potentially, if the Microsoft stuff materializes as it might.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more stories and leadership wisdom from Dr. Pamela Donnelly in just a moment. Want to support powerful conversations on leadership and success? Expressions of Leadership is looking for sponsors who believe in the power of great storytelling. Let's team up. Email us at letstalk@expressionsofleadership.com to learn more. You're listening to Expressions of Leadership. I'm your host, Michele Kawamoto Perry. Joining us today is Dr. Pamela Donnelly, a nationally recognized leader, innovator, and fierce advocate for underserved youth. Let's dive right back in. How do you view youth, not just as learners, but as leaders?
Listen, they're the future, right? I mean, I think young people don't have to unlearn all the things that we old people, I'll speak for myself being old. I'm north of 60 now, right? So, like, believe me, I've been around for some decades. Um, they know things that we don't know. And I remember, again, these are digital natives, basically born with an iPhone or Android at the end of their arm. So we really do want to think about the wisdom that they have based on their lived experience, that we might overlook, but they actually can lead us in understanding. So I think That's one way I think of them as leading. I think if they're trusted and they have the right tools, they are able to have kind of that peer-to-peer. And we are seeing some peer-to-peer leadership with Catapult as well, where one student will say to another student, hey, I did this thing and look what I found. And I wonder what it would be for you. And, in Catapult, we talk about the big four, like whether it's going to be trade school, military pathways, technology upskilling, or entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of deep content. I mean, very deep content in this platform, but it's all at a seventh grade Lexile level because it's trauma informed, it's animated, it's got cats because it's Catapult, it's very cute, students enjoy going through it. But that peer-to-peer is critical, and that makes them leaders. And I think my role is just to remove barriers. I'm not here to tell the kids what the outcomes need to be. So if I can remove the barriers and equip them, I think they can lead, but they require, in many cases, for adversity facing populations, having a mentor in place is useful. We've got AI generated mentors on our platform, which is one of our cool features and benefits, if you will. So they can have 24/7 access to digital mentorship, but they also, in most cases, like with the police program here in Las Vegas, I mentioned about the DREAM program, working with these young kids. They work with them Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 hours, and then in between, the students, they can log in and they have access, and it's working on every device, whether it's mobile or laptop, tablet, or desktop. So that's helpful for them.
Mhm. And I'd like to dive a little deeper into this idea of mentorship. What have the foster youth that you've mentored taught you about leadership?
Mm. Listen, listen, listen. Um, there's so much vulnerability there, but within that, there is so much strength. I'm thinking about a 15-year-old girl that I was helping through my work as a volunteer CASA. And she became 16 when I was, working with her. Her case was resolved last year. The feeling of, I don't know how to describe it, but her resilience, a lot of it was humor. She just had to find a way to keep going. She had two younger siblings who had also been removed from the home because of abuse and neglect. So I just feel that if we can listen to them and we can allow their resilience to inspire us, we can help them find something that feels very real. They have a hard time trusting adults a lot of times, which is totally understandable. So we can't just be there to be some, I don't know, like a performative change agent. Like we're trying to, like in my case, I work with so many Black and brown students, and I'm aware I'm a white lady walking in the door. And there is a very conspicuous sort of cliche almost of like the white savior, trying to come in. I don't position myself that way at all. I walk into rooms with like jeans, hair pulled back, baseball cap on, like whatever, like, yeah, I'm white. Okay, now let's get to college, and you'll see that in the videos, right? Like let's find the right career path. Let's figure out what we're doing. Which part of the military? Let's use this tool. Let's drill down. Which trade school? Oh, look at this compared to that. Oh, let's use this tool to see where you make more money, Nevada versus Ohio, where your grandmother lives. Like helping them use these tools to make informed decisions. It's taught me that they are perfectly capable, but that I have to not rule them out. We should never count somebody down and out because of who their parents were or whatever problems they've had. Everybody deserves a second chance, and these kids are young. And what they need is for us to come alongside them with compassion and with excellent solutions to help solve the actual problem. So there's a tangible plan. So they've got their resumes, they've got their cover letters, they're building them on Catapult, they print them out, they're done. It's all basically there for them. They just have to kind of add in their information. They know about internships, they know how to interview, they understand what the big four. By the end of Catapult, they have a recommendation based on everything they've done, personality quizzes and everything else. Here's where a recommended pathway for you. And here's your next action item. And here's where you go. And here's your community resources. Boom, 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 boom. So they've got everything that we can possibly give them. that if they turn 18, they know where to get a hot shower, they know where to get a meal, they know where they can stay overnight in a shelter. And they've also got all of the Catapult content to help them launch Catapult up and out of that. We just want to give them that forward momentum, hit the springboard up and over the hurdle of becoming an adult in this ridiculously challenging time.
As we know, challenges and problems will always exist. As you think about your own work, what's one moment where you had to make a tough leadership call?
I don't know that this is specific to only foster youth, but as I was going through the early stages of strategic plan for American Access Institute, I was looking at a lot of business models, and I had a few different mentors and advisors that were pointing out to me that we could help millions more people by not making this focused on trauma-informed care, by not making this exclusive to like a smaller number of, like they think of it as customers, right? Because everything in America right now is about late stage capitalism. But I am a voice of one crying in the wilderness saying, yeah, but somebody needs to help these kids too. And even if it's 2 million instead of 20 million or 100 million, this is valid work and somebody needs to help them. And we are committed to doing that work from our hearts. So I think that rejecting those types of business models that would have been more about just trying to make a buck, basically, rather, for profit and non-profit are very different animals. So for me, I've just landed in a place where I've decided mission first, mission over money. And the mission is to help kids facing adversity, period.
We'll be right back after a short break with more insight and inspiration from Dr. Pamela Donnelly. Stay with us. Leadership isn't just about strategy, it's about people. The Forward Project helps organizations cultivate strong, adaptable leaders who create thriving workplace cultures. If you're ready to invest in your leadership team, visit www.theforwardproject.co to learn how. Welcome back to Expressions of Leadership. We're joined by our guest, Dr. Pamela Donnelly. Let's return to this thought-provoking conversation on leading with compassion and conviction. How do you balance visionary thinking with the everyday realities of nonprofit leadership?
That's a really good question. You have to stop being too visionary once you make a plan. um, I love to sit around and stare at the clouds, and but there's a point where you create a plan, you double check that with your board, your mentors, whoever you're working with, and then you have to start implementing. So I think that I see it as a sequential process. There's still some creativity that can happen as you're iterating. We just did our 2.0, kind of launch of some things that we changed in the way we're using that Catapult platform that we license. But we are doing it really just trying to stay faithful. We don't want mission creep, right? We want to stay on point, stay on mission. And so the biggest challenge in what you just asked is disciplining myself as the founder to hold myself and the team accountable to those types of focus areas, so that we're not kind of like, oh, and also we could, it's very easy to do this. And we really are, like right now, exclusively focused in Southern Nevada because there's such a need here. Yes, we are in a lot of meetings about national launch for the next 12 months of our strategic plan. But I want to grow smart, not fast, because I want to make sure that we're getting enough feedback from the folks we're helping so that we're sure that we're doing everything at the highest possible level with the efficacy, with the data, all of the things that we need to have. Because again, I'm all about that longitudinal. I want to be presenting to Congress about these problems. I want to be a leader who is able to articulate research that is establishing the role that digital solutions can play in sort of what we would think of typically as more of a sociological kind of area, right? Like social services. There are things that can be interruptions to the way things used to always be, as long as we deploy them early enough in a young person's life to mitigate against incarceration, trafficking, and all these other things we've talked about. So I really am excited about that. The way that those things connect, the impacting potentially even like regulatory or law, having laws that are supporting the ability for solutions that can help the problem be mitigated instead of just assuming like, oh yeah, there's always going to be sex trafficking. No, that's unacceptable. No, it doesn't have to be. How about we equip these young men and women so they have a place to go that doesn't require them being picked up on the streets of Las Vegas and God knows what. It's if you really let yourself, if you let that pierce your heart, which I do, I really try to let the humanity of it, the lived experience of the people we're serving, like let it pierce my heart. Like it's not about dissolving into emotionality. It's about that galvanizes me. It's like absolutely not. Is some 18-year-old girl going to end up God knows what because I didn't show up to help her? I'm showing up. I'm doing everything I can, and I'm doing it pro bono for the nonprofit because I want my life's work to help solve that very specific problem, whether it's that type of adversity or any of the others I've mentioned.
I hear that compassion is a big part of your work. What does compassionate leadership mean to you?
I feel like we should always remember, like, you can look at me right now and I can look at you, and we don't know the hidden challenges other people are carrying, right? People, I think, make assumptions. People are sometimes very surprised by the way that I'm first gen, that I grew up lower socioeconomic status. Da, da, da. I clean up well, right? Like over time, I've gotten a little bougie, but I'm a barefoot country kid who grew up talking like this because my name was Pam, and Pam had two syllables in my hometown. It was like Paym. So we don't know what other people are carrying, whether it's our coworkers, whether it's the students we're trying to help, or anybody else. So compassionate leadership requires a constant awareness that I only know what I see, and what I see is the very tip of the iceberg of this whole person. And if we're going to have an effective initiative that is going to scale in the way that I pray that it will, we need to honor all of the person who is there and not just be transactional and trying to use people. I think there's a lot of using of people. And that's just not the kind of energy I want to bring to this, because it would be absolutely paradoxical to the mission anyway. Like the whole goal is to heal, not to use.
Now, at its core, leadership is as much about mindset as it is about behavior. What belief or mindset do you hope that the next generation of leaders will evolve beyond?
Well, I want them to let go of any idea that leaders have to know everything. you know, like you have to have all the answers and then you can go be a leader. Like just like let that go. Just I want them to know that asking better questions is the goal of leadership. Like being insightful into the questions that they're asking about the problem that they want to solve. I feel like most of this new generation coming up, like I said, I work with high school students. I still do some, because of course I'm still making a living, even though I'm doing all the nonprofit stuff for free. So I do college admissions consulting for 9th through 12th graders and essays coaching. And I've been doing that for years. College Admissions Simplified is a YouTube channel I've got with a bunch of free videos where people can see lots of that kind of work I've done. One thing I can tell you, because I work with this sort of population, this generation does get that. They do get what I was just saying about, like, it's more about curiosity and asking questions than having to kind of walk around like, back in my day, there was a lot more bravura, posturing. Now it's more, there's like humility and curiosity, even in the kids. And a lot of the kids I work with end up going to top medical schools. They end up going to like, JD programs, be lawyers. That it's a very different generation right now. So I do hope that that continues, that it's more about curiosity. And one of my favorite quotes, actually, in education, this idea that education is not the filling of a bucket, but it is the lighting of a fire, right? So we're not just here to try to pour something into a kid. We are here to inspire something, to ignite something that was already in them so they can find their way.
After the break, Pamela shares what's next for her, for the American Access Institute, and for the future of leadership in education. Stick with us. Don't miss a thing. Follow Expressions of Leadership on your favorite podcast app and connect with us on Instagram and YouTube at Expressions of Leadership. Welcome back to Expressions of Leadership. I'm Michele Kawamoto Perry, and we're here with Dr. Pamela Donnelly, whose work is reshaping how we think about equity, access, and leadership in education. Let's now hear what vision Pamela is holding for the road ahead. What's on the horizon for Catapult and the American Access Institute?
Well, we are very enthusiastically building a mobile app right now that is going to provide community resource access in all 50 states. We're partnering with the University of Las Vegas here, UNLV, to build that out. We're so excited to be basically providing, we're calling it the Catapult Access.ai app. So it's utilizing artificial intelligence so that wherever you are on a map of the United States, you can click in and immediately, it's very cool the way it looks. It like fans out every resource in all of the areas that people facing adversity might need. So we're using this as kind of a gift out into communities and a springboard where folks can then find Catapult as something that is connected to that if they choose that they would like to also have the career readiness tool. So I'm excited about that. Like I've said, we've got some very major conversations with national nonprofits that may be partnering. But beyond that, I feel like right now I've had to learn how to move more slowly than I might originally have wanted to. Like I think back to my gate days and I wanted everything fast. And now I was just like, I was like, I don't know, like manic entrepreneur, like baby entrepreneur. I'm comfortable with iteration more now than I was. And one thing that I'm doing this year is really listening and taking meetings with every partner org administrator that we're working with to continue honing and improving the user experience on the platform so that as AAI is giving that out, we are doing it at a level that is most helpful. So I feel like what's on the horizon for us is making what is already astonishingly good, in my opinion, but of course I'm prejudiced, even better based on that kind of feedback from the folks using it. Launching that AI app and just continuing to build out the ecosystem of folks that are able to partner with us and utilize what we're able to help them access.
And looking ahead, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work across education, research, and advocacy?
I feel like a lot of this is about wanting to almost like establish a blueprint for other nonprofits in the space of educational equity. I feel like what we're doing is quite innovative in the way we're thinking about blended learning, which is that tech plus team, that kind of mentor plus technology, and the unique ways that we are utilizing that. So I like the idea of being a blueprint to help other nonprofits not feel like they're in scarcity, but they have access to something that is affordable and is able to help them, attain their missions. Maybe my legacy will be mostly about love, just loving people, and being willing to put the ego aside, put the rest of it aside, and just really show up. Put what for whatever reason I was given this brain, I have no idea, but here we are, and I love being able to like pour my work into something, but energetically what's under it is love. So maybe the legacy is that love and business can live together, and actually that love can and should propel the work that we're doing, so that if there is a legacy, it's something that's connected to our heart, not just money.
Now, when you envision the future of education and equity, what gives you the greatest sense of hope or possibility?
I have a lot of hope that we're starting to break down silos across sectors. I think blockchain um, and AI related technologies are beginning to make it much easier for there to be kind of interstitial ways of technologies, platforms to work together while protecting student data privacy, all of the things that you have to think about. Like in our field, there's the FERPA compliance that you have to do. So these federal rules about what do you do with data. I feel that the future is digital, first of all, for sure. Now but it's not digital like COVID, where everybody's, miserable and trying to have a classroom environment like that. That was kind of an odd mashup because of how quickly we all had to figure that out. I see that the future is going to be much more agile, digital, and I have a lot of hope that equity is going to be foregrounded in that conversation because digital is the ultimate equalizer. If I give Catapult to the richest that I know, and believe me, I've got some very rich clients, or if I give it to some of those kids who are in juvenile justice down with the Vegas police, they've got access to the same information. So does that level the playing field? Maybe not entirely, but maybe it gets us a little closer to something that a triple Libra like me can live with. Because I do like things to be fair, I have to admit.
Now, I know you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but for those listeners who may have missed it and who want to learn more about you, Catapult, or the American Access Institute, where should they go?
Sure. Well, AmericanAccessInstitute.org is the nonprofit's website. You can learn about Catapult. There's a subpage called Catapult. Web demos, anything you want to see are there. For folks who want to learn more about me and my consulting work, mentorship.pameladonnelly.com is where clients find me. I don't advertise. People send me their friends, and I've been doing this for so long that I'll help 10 kids per class per year. And that funds my ability to do the work for, American Access Institute without having to earn any money from it. So there's that. And then I would just say, you can find me on LinkedIn, Pamela M. Donnelly. I post all the time. I do articles. I publish my research there. I really enjoy being engaged with a lot of folks on LinkedIn would be a third place.
Well, great. And now for the final segment of the show, our wisdom and whimsy, if you will. Let's start with some wisdom. For anyone trying to lead from the margins of a system, what advice would you give them to stay grounded and effective?
I would advise anyone to find the right people to surround yourself with. You need truth tellers. You don't need yes men. You need allies. You need a couple of really good mentors. So finding your people, balancing your life. Don't just burn it at both ends. You've got to build rest into what you're doing. It's very easy in my world to go into compassion fatigue. That is a real thing. Compassion fatigue will pull you out of the race entirely. So you've got to, build rest into your revolution. So if you're going to, for me, yoga is where I do that. But I also walk my dog every evening and I find ways to be out in nature. And I just find ways because I do push myself hard, but I also bake into the entire cake is, that the ability to balance that out.
And now for some whimsy. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I love that you ask a question like that. Okay, first of all, how did you know I sing karaoke? Second of all, um, so fun fact, I've been an actor, as I've mentioned, soap operas, back-to-back roles on ABC in the 1980s. So that was a while ago. There's some really funny pictures of me with very big 80s hair and shoulder pads out to here. I look like a linebacker. That's very fun. But I also have done a lot of theater and musical theater, and I do sing and dance as well as act. It's not something I talk about in this context, but why should I sit here and be embarrassed? I used to be embarrassed. I used to hide this fact, right? And then I got to the point where I was like, that's dumb. It's just part of me, and I don't care. So I will tell you my go-to karaoke song is Guns N' Roses. It does kind of tie to my career because the song is Sweet Child of Mine. And I love it for my kids, and I also love it for my students.
Well, Dr. Donnelly, thank you for sharing your story, your insight, and your very deep commitment to access, innovation, and heart-centered leadership.
It was such a pleasure to chat with you. I really appreciate the way that you put together the questions because we covered so much ground. I'm looking forward to seeing where both of our paths lead us. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us on Expressions of Leadership. If something resonated, a moment of clarity, a new lens, or simply the comfort of knowing that you're not alone in this work, please do carry that forward. Talk about it, share it with your circle, and keep the leadership conversation going. Until next time, keep showing up and keep leading with intention. If you haven't done so already, make sure to click on that follow button so you don't miss out on future episodes. Have a guest you'd like us to interview? Questions, ideas, or just want to say hello? You can reach us at letstalk@expressionsofleadership.com or connect with us on Instagram or YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks to our amazing team behind the scenes for making this podcast possible, including our sound engineer, Graham Palmer, and my chief encourager and advisor, Jeremiah Higgins.